Before we get into things, I uploaded a really cool video today on a Halo mod for Empire at War. I'm going to play like a 10-second clip of that and link to it in the upper right hand corner. If you guys are interested, please go check it out. I'm really trying to grow this second channel, as you guys know, and your support has been great. So if you enjoy that, check it out and subscribe because there's plenty more. These models actually look really damn good. The animations, I gotta say too. So the models, this looks like right out of Halo 1. And the little walk for the grunts is spot on. That's the little goofy stride that the grunts have. Yeah, we got needles going. We got battle rifles and assault rifles. Let's try the fuel rod cannon though. Dude, that was awesome. Hey guys, hello and welcome to another video. Today we are going back to the art book for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. The other day we talked about how there were some Super Star Destroyers envisioned for Kylo Ren, and how the Zeiston might look a little bit different, and how all of that really reflected on the total confusion that there seemed to be about this movie. We'll also see some of that today as we take a look at some potential Stormtrooper variants that were envisioned for The Rise of Skywalker, some of which I think are actually really cool. On that note, I'm a big fan of the Sith Trooper. The armor is much skinnier and sleeker than standard Stormtrooper armor, sort of like Death Troopers from Rogue One, which is all stuff we'll talk about in today's video. Anyway, it's a little unclear to me what exactly Sith Troopers were initially planned to be. I will say I don't think that the Sith Eternal was initially a faction. I think probably it was part of the First Order at some point, then it was moved around to try to help the plot make sense. And I do think that explains why the helmets do look very First Ordery. But we know from the very beginning from the art book that JJ originally wanted Red Troopers, and that was his big thing. Red Troopers and an even more angular look to them as well, and the Stormtroopers of the First Order already are quite a bit more angular than in the original trilogy, but we see this continued in this concept art. One idea that I quite like is the idea of the red being musculature, sort of like a person with the skin stripped off, and that does sort of play into the final design, but it's even more prominent in some of the early looks. Besides for the general notions of having the armor be red and maybe to look sort of like muscles and very angular, we also know that, as I said, they turned to Rogue One. We'll look at a potential Death Trooper variant later, but earlier designs also sort of looked like the tank pilot from that movie, which is one of my favorites. One thing that's kind of cool is that there were different ranks imagined too, so maybe the tank pilot would be perhaps a commander, and we get even more different officers on the next page. And this design would then be reincorporated as Palpatine's sovereign protector, basically his new Imperial Guards, which we see fight Rey and Kylo. Personally, before we move on, I just want to say that I am a fan of the more muscular looking armor. I think it would have been even bolder than what they went with the Sith Trooper. But to be honest, I'm in love with the design we got anyway, although I do feel like it was horribly underused, and the way that it looks like First Order armor sort of contradicts its purpose as basically the frontline troops for this secret cult. One last thing about the tank pilot though is that it was actually floated for this movie, but it wasn't used in the end. Would have been pretty cool though. The next few pages look at the evolution of Special Forces, Sith and First Order troopers. And we can continue to see not only the clear lineage from Death Trooper designs, but also Death Trooper concepts. So one thing we can see here is a version of the Death Trooper, I think for Rogue One, with some major differences that I actually quite like. I mean, this thing is basically a spider. It looks like it has other eyes, there's what appears to be mandibles in the front, and the head is much more rounded. Now, I don't know if this works for Death Troopers, which are supposed to be enforcers and really powerful, but for maybe spies or some weirdly clandestine agents, this would have worked well. The mandibles are the thing I'm focusing on here, and we have a quote from Glenn Dillon, who made most of these Stormtrooper concepts. He says the insect mandibles are an old idea that I've been trying to get into one film or another for a while. Even when I was originally thinking about it for the Death Troopers in Rogue One, it had that scary spider feel. Then in Solo, it was considered as a possible Mimban mud trooper. So these helmet designs play into the First Order Jump Trooper. They have very similar sort of rounded edges, especially at the top of the helmet. They have most notably the mandibles, although quite scaled down compared to the Death Trooper, but very similar to the Mud Trooper. And they have the general striations that we've been talking about throughout this video. What's really weird though is that the Sith Trooper, when you look at it, is basically the Jump Trooper but painted red. First of all, and this is the thing that I noticed most, the helmet has the exact same mandibles, but what's more, they also both have the same jetpack symbol, I guess. It makes no sense that these two designs would be the exact same if they were invented by divergent sources. Now, even if there's eventually a lore explanation, like the Sith Eternal were leaking specifications to the First Order or something like that, it just basically speaks to the general fact that this wasn't thought out properly. Now, that's not the fault of the artists, but the situation going on between the First Order and the Final Order and the Sith Eternal is already very confusing for the average moviegoer. Hell, for all moviegoers. So when you have troopers from the two different factions, I don't know, that look the exact similar, it just really does not help with clarity. But I don't want to get too far into this rant because I sort of did it a couple of videos ago, and I really want to celebrate some of the cool trooper designs we have gotten from Disney Star Wars. Say what you will about the movies, we've gotten Death Troopers and Shore Troopers and the Sith Troopers and just generally the First Order Troopers, so I'm not about to complain about that. Anyway guys, that's all I have for today's video. I know this is sort of a short one. Let me know what you'd like to see me cover in the future, and if you enjoyed this, please subscribe for more. That's all I've got for today guys. Until next time, may the Force be with you.